running away from them, you move faster with more clarity, with more confidence. It's leading with heart and holding the line with wisdom.
You are stepping away from the opportunity that this truly brings to you. You're getting applauded, but you're losing accountability.
It's not just about how you feel, right? It's about how you lead through those feelings. Friends, today we are unpacking one of the most overlooked success accelerators in business and life, and that is emotional maturity. This is the skill that doubles your growth rate, because when you take responsibility for your emotions, when you feel them and process them and stop running away from them, you move faster with more clarity, with more confidence, without the obstacles of blame and finger pointing. We have watched it in client after client after client. The moment they stop blaming, they stop buffering, they stop bypassing, their leadership expands, their impact deepens, and the results and the outcomes for not just their business, but their life become quicker than ever before. So if you've ever found yourself asking, right, how can I care deeply, right, without carrying everything? Or how do I stay calm without trying to navigate and process and organize the chaos? Friends, you are in the right place, because this isn't a podcast on just how to be a better leader. It's about becoming a more whole and grounded human. So let's get into the conversation, Miss Carrie.
Hi, Lovey.
Hi, honey.
So this is, and I love this conversation because the emotional maturity really is our compassionate intelligence. It is our third principle as we begin to navigate and continue to navigate through those 10 core principles in leadership. And I believe that that emotional maturity, that emotional intelligence gets confused. It gets confused because we think about it, as you said, outside of self and not something that really sits internally. We think about that emotional intelligence as simply just an understanding. If I just understand the emotions, if I just have intelligence around what they are, then that's really going to be everything, right? That's going to clear up whatever chaos is sitting out there. And it's crap. It's just crap. So as we look at this, I love for us to first, as we always do with these principles, break down what is this principle? Like, what is compassionate intelligence and how would you define it?
It's so good. So compassionate intelligence is the leadership skill. And again, we love all of the principles, but I want to say this is the skill that will either trip you up and slow you way, way, way down, or be the catalyst for the progress that you so desperately desire. But it is a skill of balancing what we might call empathy with accountability. It's leading with heart and holding the line with wisdom, right? It's not just about how you feel, right? It's about how you lead through those feelings and owning them and taking massive amount of responsibility and inviting that feeling to teach you something. Inviting that feeling to give you clarity instead of trying to distract yourself so that you can do anything other than feel. That is what compassionate intelligence is, I think.
So then how would you distinguish it from other things that people get it confused with, from other terms, other beliefs, the confusion around this?
Yeah. So, well, first, there's no curriculum for feeling. We have not learned, we've not been taught how to feel. There's two schools, really. You either sweep it under the rug where all other feelings go and you avoid, right? And you numb out and you find a way, your life. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
Misdemeanor, or you react. You
Mm-hmm.
react and you use emotions as a dictator
Mm-hmm.
rather than an indicator that there is something within you that has a voice that's trying to get your nervous system to waken up. So what it isn't is it's not being nice
Mm-hmm.
or being fine or being overly accommodating. It's not about people pleasing and rescuing other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's about presence,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's not this emotional overload or taking on everybody's pain or being upset that someone else is upset or being angry that someone else is angered. It's holding space for everybody to experience their own humanity
Mm-hmm.
without losing yourself in the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not weak, it's not passive. Compassion really is a strength multiplier,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not a softener of the standards that we bring forward. So that's what I would say it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, because we always dive into this piece, and this is so your jam, Leah.
It's so much jam. We must be
It's so
talking about.
jam. We love the science and the research and all of the good neuros that back this up, right? Because it's not just soft. It's not just a one of those things that doesn't really matter and there's nothing to back it up.
Oh.
There's no science to back it up, right? We love to say that kind of thing. There's some good, there's some good stuff here. What would you say? What is the science that backs this up?
So if we're just talking about the neurological science, we talk a lot about
Yep.
thoughts and neurology and the neuroplasticity in the modern culture. And of course, they're infused into all these principles.
Yep.
But as I mentioned before, compassion regulates the nervous system.
Mm.
We believe that emotions have a voice, have a language, and we
Hmm.
discount the language as something's gone terribly wrong, as if we weren't supposed to have emotions.
Hmm.
And instead of discounting, dismissing, buffering them away, right? If we allowed them a voice,
Hmm.
we can regulate our nervous system better, right? I think that leaders that stay calm and grounded help their teams feel safe
Yeah.
and help their teams literally rewire their brains for trust and clarity through the co-regulation and the mirroring of neurons that we talk about
Yep.
from time to time. Psychologically, um, I think compassion and this compassionate intelligence principle
Hmm.
fuels emotional agility, resilience. It's it's um it's adversity training, right?
Yeah.
When leaders own their own emotions without being owned by them, they model resilience and they
Hmm.
create space for honesty and autonomy and growth. If you have a leader that's going to react every time you bring in an emotion to them, if you have a leader that's going to get angry every time that you bring anger to them, if you have a leader that is going to get frustrated when you bring a frustration to them, how safe do you feel to bring that level of frustration to them? And
Hmm.
then culturally, organizationally, compassion builds high performing cultures. It
Hmm.
does.
Yeah.
Teams thrive when they feel psychologically safe. They can be innovative, they can be creative, right? Where there is empathy without mirroring, where I can hold space for the human experience that you're having without jumping in the pool with you and let's be frustrated together because
Right.
that's going to be a
Right.
good time,
Right.
right? There is an accountability that happens that coexists when you allow them to have the freedom of their own human experience and
Mm.
you don't have to double down on what it is that they're doing to prove that you care. Caring is actually just allowing them to sit in whatever it is that they're feeling, knowing that you're safe to
Mhm.
listen,
Mhm.
not to react and to respond and to fix.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
So when we bring, the neurological and the
Mhm.
psychological and the organizational science together, right? And we kind of
Mhm.
shared with you what it is,
Yep.
where people get tripped up in it. What are like actual like signs that
Mm.
someone maybe hasn't embodied this principle to the extent they can? And you guys, with this principle, there's always room for growth because life will continue to give you the curriculum
Yeah.
to embody this principle. But where are there signs that either somebody has no awareness at all or they haven't quite embodied it?
Well, I think, it's interesting the way that you bring it forward because in Like your first warning sign is going to be the inaccessibility you have to your own emotions.
Yes.
And how that shows up, and here's what people will say is people will say, but I actually do. I feel my emotions, right? I feel my things. I go home, you don't understand. I'm so stressed out. I can't sleep at night. My emotions are going all the time, but they're not. They're not actually going. You're sitting and you're festering within them. And then when you do that, you collapse into comfort, is what happens. And when you collapse into comfort, that becomes the people pleasing, or it becomes the inability to be able to hold somebody else compassionately in truth. And that's compassionate intelligence, not only understanding and having compassion for self. If you don't have that for yourself, you will never be able to see the human in another person. The only thing you're going to see is the outcome that you are looking for. And when you don't see that outcome, right? When you're not seeing what it is that you believe you need to have within an organization or within a relationship, then you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to, again, collapse into comfort, right? Which means that you allow because we don't want to have the hard conversation. We don't want to disrupt somebody else, or we're going to bulldoze them with control. And I know that sounds really harsh, but here's what it looks like. I'll just take care of it myself. I'll just do it myself because I can do it faster. That is control. That is not compassion. That is not asking that deeper question. All of these principles layer on one another. And when you have the ability to get curious and you ask that deeper question, that's where you provide the safety. That's where you provide the safety. But if you are not leading from this place, you are enabling dysfunction and you are weaponizing direction. This is what's happening. And when people become problems to solve instead of the humans that stand alongside you, you're not aligned, you're transactional. And nobody wants a transactional leader, but I will almost guarantee you that most leaders today are transactional because they're looking for the outcome and they're not honoring the human.
Oh,
I would say.
yes. Yes. So if that is the reality, and we've seen enough to know that it most likely is, and it's not on purpose, like friends, like
No.
it's not on purpose. We just have not been taught a different way. We have not been taught a different way. And so why is it so important, right? In this time right now, especially in this time right now, that at least people that are slightly interested in a different way to lead, in a different way to live. Why is this principle so important now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, can we simply just look at leadership today?
Mm-hmm.
Can we just look at what's happening in the world? We have lost the ability for compassion as a human because we are so driven in scarcity and fear, because we're consistently looking for that next level. And we're not allowing ourselves the presence to be exactly where we are. And if we're not allowing ourselves the presence, we're not allowing other people the presence either. Leadership cannot be done in the way that it has been done in the past. It simply can't. It's been done with, I'm going to say this is going to sound really harsh, but it really has been kind of a blunt force, to be honest with you. Those conversations aren't coming out of you in a way that is allowing the space for somebody else to feel trusted and to feel seen in it. That's what this time period is calling for. And it's not just because the old system isn't working anymore. We know it's not working anymore. It's because the generations coming up are demanding something different, right? Not just the next generation, but the people who are navigating the world today are demanding something different. So we have to begin to come back home to ourselves, to come back home to a place where we have the ability to both have the compassion and have the intelligence to be able to step forward to call people into a higher place. Emotional intelligence is simply something where you walk into a room and you can sense the room, right? And you can go through all the courses you want to on emotional intelligence, and it's going to tell you how to sense the room. Compassionate intelligence, you guys, moves the room. That's what we're being called to do. We're being called to movement and not to stagnation and just observation anymore. That's what I would say to that.
So total goosebumps. Yes. move the room. And here's what I got. If
Yeah.
you're a leader thinking, oh, that's not like me, that I'm not an empath like that. I can't read the room. Other people can read the room. Other people are more. That is crap.
It
That
is absolutely.
that is complete crap. You come back into alignment with yourself,
Yep.
and you will naturally have the ability to read the room because
Yeah.
you read yourself. So
Yes.
that's it's so brilliant. Yes, thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that
Oh my
forward.
gosh,
Oh,
absolutely. So then what would you say as a way, a different way to look at this, more of that metaphor type of way? I know we've used the thermometer and the thermostat in the past. Is there anything that kind of comes to you that helps bring something forward for this particular principle?
not in the way of a metaphor, but
Okay.
as I was thinking about this one, I think the reason the reason why maybe we don't either bring forward this principle in a way of like
Uh,
acceptance
Yep.
or what is kind of what I just said.
Yeah.
Um, they just don't think they have the capabilities of
Mhm.
being the empath because they've never been the empath. They're not the empathic one, right? And they've been labeled that and they've been told that, right? I also think that people think if they show compassion, that they'll lose their edge,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
And what we want to remind our listenership and the leaders of the world is it's not a weakness. It's strategy, right? I mean, if you're going to go that way, it's strategy. It doesn't lower standards. It builds trust,
Yes.
right? And it deepens the influence with which to call up and
Yeah.
excel in those standards. So,
Yes. 1,000
um,
of.
people will say, I don't have time. I don't have time. So I'm fine. I'm just fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine, right? And I know this person well, right? But ignoring our emotions,
Mm,
and I love to say, and I'm sure I heard this from somebody, but unfelt feelings fester,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Ignoring emotions, right, doesn't allow us to have more time on our hands. It's not like those go anywhere, right? It's
Yeah.
not like if I ignore them or find them away that they just go somewhere else.
Hmm.
They stay and they're sticky and
Hmm.
they create massive amounts of disconnection and disengagement because you begin to believe that there's something wrong with you, as if you don't know how to either manage, process, or deal and navigate with the emotions that you have, right?
Hmm.
So it becomes the very distraction that you claim you don't have time for,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
then that whole fine thing. It's just
Yeah.
I'm fine, right? It's suppressing your emotions is self-abandonment, and it's no wonder that we can't hold the space for other people, because if we can't hold the space for us,
Yes.
how is it possible for us to hold the space for other people? So that's what I would say.
You
So
can't
yeah, you can't. You
hold the
can't.
space for other
So
people.
so when we behave like this, when we show up this way, either in suppressing
Yeah.
of our emotions, finding a way, what have you, what there's a reason, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're not just doing this because we love to feel pain,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
There there is a behavior, there is a payoff
Hmm.
for them doing this. Why is it that they want to, why they continue to use buffering and distractions in a way to not feel,
Mm.
because they feel what is the payoff for them? What are they getting?
Oh my gosh. Well, I sit and I look at just some of the leaders that we've recently talked to and that I've recently talked to. You just get to perform. You
Mm,
just get to perform and people applaud performance. That's
mm,
what they applaud, right? So if you are ignoring the compassionate intelligence, if you are stepping away from the opportunity that this truly brings to you, you're getting applauded, but you're losing accountability and people lose belief in you.
mhm,
They lose trust
mhm,
and innovation begins to die, right? Because nobody can bring forward insights, ideas from a place of struggle or a place of fear. When you are in that performance mode, when you collapse into comfort, like I said, then you're going to step on toes. You're going to make sure things are getting done, even if it means, and you think I'm just being helpful, right? They don't really know. So I'm just going to go ahead and handle this for them, right? They didn't do this because, and then I'm just going to go ahead. This is enabling behavior, friends. This isn't compassion. This is enablement. There is a difference there as well. Compassion says that I get to hold the space for them to step forward in the highest version of who they are. And I get to ask them, truly ask them, how are you doing?
Mhm.
And I'm not asking you how your project is. I'm not asking you about how the next deadline is coming along. I'm asking, how are you? And that's a game changer. You know, we had somebody on our staff come a couple of weeks ago and just like started out the meeting. We always do gratitudes and wins. And she says, I am so grateful that I have the ability to be vulnerable in this space, that I have the ability to come forward and to say to you guys, I hit a creative block. I hit a creative block and I needed to step away. And so I stepped away and I went and did this and I went and did this and I did my little Lego thing. And then that brought me back into a space where I could innovate. That's compassionate intelligence. She
Mhm.
didn't have to tell me what was going on, but she had the ability to say, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. This is what I needed in order to be able to create in clarity for you. When you collapse or when you take that control back and you step in and you do it for them, they never get that space. They never have the self-awareness and they don't have the ability then to be able to do that again next time because they don't see that, oh my gosh, it's safe for me to come forward to you to have this conversation. And she can do that because I do the same.
Mhm.
This is where I'm at. This is what I've got going on. I overdid here. I overfunctioned here. I burned out. I need to do this. This is understanding of self, that compassionate intelligence of self that you get to bring forward to other people. That's why this is so important. And this is what happens when you completely ignore it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So speaking of ignoring,
Yeah.
what's the real cost then? What's the real cost and the long-term consequences for cultures, for families, for decision making, for trust?
You'll suffocate.
Yeah.
You'll suffocate. They'll suffocate everything. That's what's going to happen, right? You're going to snuff it out. You're going to lose people because you see it as being compassionate to come in and take over, and they see it as micromanaging. They're never going to say it, by the way. They're not going to tell you that they don't trust you,
Mhm.
right? You're going to feel it. You won't be able to put your finger on it because you're not compassionate enough with yourself to understand the emotions around it, right? And then you're going to constantly question, it's going to be a problem of the team.
Mm.
So you're not going to scale. You're going to
Yeah.
suffocate.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
suffocate.
Yeah.
So, Leah, what can they do? Like, I mean, come on, peeps, get your stuff together. But what can they do? What are some steps they can take?
Well, the first step is awareness always, right?
Always, right?
Right? So when you're feeling whatever way you're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's burned out, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's frustration, whether it's anger, whether it's anxiety, whatever it is,
Yeah,
can we just not judge it?
thank you.
Can we just hold space for whatever it is, right? And allow ourselves to just invite that emotion to have a voice.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
If anger was able to talk right now,
Mm.
what would anger ask of me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you go in and you look for truth, it's not going to tell you that you should react and avoid and point fingers at other people. It will most likely say, girl,
Mm-hmm.
you need a break. You need some rest, some real freaking rest.
Mm-hmm.
You needed to take a pause. You need to give yourself a couple of minutes to reset in between meetings and tasks and conversations. That's the ask. Can we give ourselves a 2-minute transition
Mm-hmm.
in between these meetings, in between these tasks, in these conversations to ask the question that you so beautifully asked earlier? How are you? How many times a day do we actually ask that and hold space for the answer? Most of the time we do it like when we're checking out at the grocery store or something. How are you? Good. You good? Yeah. Weather. How's the weather? Yeah, it's good too. But how many times do we sit and ask ourselves, how are you? Leah, love, how are you feeling? Really, really, and allow your nervous system to communicate with you outside of the vibrations in your body. Let it have a voice, give it a voice, and then listen. And then ask the emotion what it would have of you. There's gold in the answer because there's a level of compassion for you. There's a level of acknowledgement that you too get to frickin' matter today and always. But so often we're so distracted and we're so hurried to just avoid that emotion because we don't have the time to navigate it. So we completely abandon ourselves and we wonder why we can't hold that space for other people because we don't hold it for ourselves. So that is the practice that I'm inviting you guys to do. Allow your feelings talk. Allow them the language to communicate. They're trying to communicate to you and you completely discount them and you dismiss them. Allow them to talk. Give yourself a couple of minutes to ask yourself the question, to check in with yourself as to how it is that you're really doing. Your life will change. Your life will change.
Invitation.
It's invitation.
So between now and next week, that's it, you guys. That's it. Just ask yourself, how are you doing? And allow whatever answer to come up for you. So until next week, we hope it is amazing and beautiful. And we do want to know how it is that you are truly doing. All right, friends, we'll see you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Take care.